canción completa estaba weird. A traditional ballad, and it was weird as fuck. Okay, so eso es hair. Database checker, volume. Wow. So, estos son todo lo que hay. Estos son todos los videos que hay. Y por lo menos estos son los que hemos chequeado por ahora. So, hay que seguir buscando. Ok, so tenemos hair. ¿Qué más? Weapon. Que aquí es casi. Died. Ok, so que aparentemente hay 6 entries de died. Ya uno lo vimos porque fue el anterior. So que vamos a ver qué es lo que están pasando of murder, of death. O sea que hay que ir entonces.
Then my parents died.
Okay, so, okay, fine. You know,
It was the worst year of my life.
Man.
Miscarriage and then my parents.
I'm gonna search the miscarriage. I'm gonna search the myth. No, ok. Lo que pasa es que te dan acceso al logic database de los policías. Y entonces, lo que pasa es que todo está segmentado según las palabras. Y no te dan la entrevista completa. Entonces, tú estás tratando de hacer la historia completa de ella. Pero, según el juego, pues tienes que ir buscando palabra por palabra o frase o los términos para poder entonces entrar a cada cosa, que eso es lo que te dicen en el read me y really read me text al principio. Entonces por eso es que te sale el DB checker, donde entonces sales donde estás buscando todos los videos para poder crear la imagen completa de lo que ocurrió, porque si nos dejamos llevar con esto, pues ya cuando ella está vestida así en blanco, entendemos que ella es una asesina, que ella mató a su hermana o mató a Simon o mató a alguien. Y entonces, pues poquito a poquito tú vas viendo como que que a pesar de que es la misma actriz haciendo muchas veces diferentes roles o diferentes cosas, pues tú dices como que la tipa está loca, tiene bipolaridad, tiene una situación emocional. Y entonces poquito a poquito hay que ir viendo, según el juego, lo que está obligándote para que vayas captando y entendiendo todo el rebote. O sea que está cool, pero
No cat. My parents had a cat before they died called Domino. It was this little black thing with white dots.
Okay.
And we never did anything about the cat flap, but if you were thin, you could maybe squeeze through it.
Okay, eso es totalmente innecesario, pero sure.
1984 was an awful year in the end. We were living at Doug and Eleanor's. I lost the baby at the end of spring and my parents died in the summer. It was a hot summer, a heat wave. So when they discovered the bodies, it was just awful.
Bodies, okay.
Because of the circumstances, them dying together like that, they brought in a lot of police. A forensic entomologist. I had to look that up. It was because of the heat. It's just awful.
So 1984. Un minuto y medio, okay.
Florence was a warm, kind person. But she was broken, I guess. When I found her diary, I also found a biscuit tin with other stuff in it. Older papers, letters, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Her story wasn't there. I never really spoke to her about it. I was far too young to really understand, I guess. I just put it together later, once I was older. She had loved children, planned to have a large family, but her husband died in the war. And that was back when you married for life. She never felt like she could marry again. Isn't that strange? She was a widow from her 20s. But, I mean, I guess it was different then. You know, you married for life and she felt she could never marry again. I guess it was harder, a war widow. One of the dead. I don't know, maybe there was more to it than that.
There is.
I don't really know.
Yeah. doesn't make sense, but okay, girl, you keep trying.
When I was 8, Mother died.
Okay.
She slipped down the stairs.
Okay.
It was an accident. I had read a diary at that point, and I knew she wasn't my real mother.
Okay.
So I burned the diary that day, and I left.
The
Walked
diary
out
is super
and across the street.
So the diary is super important now. Diary. So there's one here. Okay.
No, he doesn't keep a diary. That's my thing. I've kept one, well, as long as I can remember, since I was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Helps make sense of my day.
Mm-hmm.
When you're forced to put something into words, just gives you perspective. Everyone's on the same page.
Ay, Dios mío.
It just became our way of life.
No.
We would swap places and take it in turns to do things. And we were very careful. Whoever had been out that day would come back and write a detailed diary so that we were on the same page.
Okay, so the twins.
We had a list of rules that said what we could and couldn't do in any given situation. It was exhaustive. We lived a second life through those rules. Rules for things that could only ever happen inside our imaginations. We would consider all the permutations of future events and agree rules to walk our way through them.
Okay, so la película What Happened to Monday ocurre esta misma situación. There was only a one-child policy in a way. Entonces, Monday was the one that went on Mondays. Entonces, everybody else changed, except Monday didn't come back that day, pero everybody knew about them still going on y toda la vida. Which is weird and interesting, porque entonces lo que crea una situación donde what the fuck is going on, porque entonces aquí ella me dice que esta es la última entrevista, que they swap places and all that. Entonces anteriormente pues no, que there's nothing else. No,
Yeah, that's me.
pues no tiene el tatuaje.
But February, I mean, that was months ago.
Okay.
What's that got to do with Simon's murder?
Entonces, Simon's murder. So, okay, no hay dos, entonces aquí es que ella... Okay, so, el diary ya está lo de Florence era la madre falsa que tenía el diario. Ya vimos aquí, ya vimos acá, so, entonces tenemos todo lo del medio. Son 5 entries específicamente, eso que se supone que
Florence took me home with her.
there we go.
Mother hadn't been expecting twins and had a healthy baby. I guess she was just happy for Florence to clean up. Take away the evidence that this was anything but a happy occasion.
Yeah, so there we go.
Florence raised me in her home. I never left it. She kept me out of sight. It wasn't odd for people to see a midwife with a baby, carrying in supplies, washing nappies, that sort of thing. I never knew any different.
Entonces, ella está con
I grew up looking out of my window and seeing her across the road.
Parece lo de Rapunzel.
I thought it was like a reflection in the mirror. She was me.
Sí, there we go. Ahora sí, creepy image.
No, it was just me and her.
Aquí, como podemos ver, se cambió.
It was the name they were going to call their first child. They talked about it and were going to try when he came back. Florence's family had a history of firstborn girls, so they were convinced it was going to be a girl. It's hard to know if this is all true. These are stories I remember, that I read when I was a child. Maybe I misread, maybe I misunderstood. Sometimes it's hard to remember what happened last week.
No, don't do this to me now. Ya, y ya está. No, Ava. Midwife. Aquí son las dos menciones del midwife, que sé yo. Estaban viendo los from the street. Fuck. O sea, yo sé que me falta un montón, like. Pero. Uff, todo esto. Pero there's something. Okay, so Simon. Con Simon fue lo que. Simon ya está completo. Meet Simon. No, Meet Simon. Esto. Fuck. Esto. Couple. No sé. Ok, there we go. O sea, es como que es bastante difícil como que tienes que seguir captando las palabras, seguir buscando las cosas. Pero entonces cada vez surgen más ropa, surgen más entrevistas. Y cuando surgen más entrevistas, pues cambia el aspecto de lo que uno está viendo. Porque entonces ahora volvemos a ella cuando tiene la camisita que usualmente como que de veterinario o algo así. Entonces dura 1 minuto y medio. O sea,
Okay.
what the hell is going on ahora?
I parked up in the street. It was busy, so I had to park down the end of the road. Walked up, knocked on the door, no answer. I took my keys out of my bag and unlocked the door. The main lock was unlocked. You can tell because the key doesn't turn when you try to turn it to the left. I walked in. Simon's coat wasn't on the peg. I couldn't see his shoes in the shoe rack. I shouted out. I walked straight into the kitchen because he usually sits in there to have a cup of tea and read his paper, but he wasn't there. I touched the kettle, it was cold. I looked quickly in the living room, nothing. So I walked upstairs to the bedroom and he wasn't there. I didn't search for him because it was pretty clear he wasn't there. I had a shower. The phone rang whilst I was in the shower. I didn't answer it. I think it was Eric. Then I was just exhausted. So I lay down on the bed and I fell asleep, though I didn't mean to. I woke up a couple of hours later and I was surprised to see no one in the bed next to me. And then I remembered where I was and what had happened. That's when Eric called again. This time I spoke to him. Then I called Doug and Eleanor. And then I decided to come and see you. That enough?
Come to see you. Okay. That's weird. Y otro video largo. Okay. Aquí, viste, otra vez.
I parked up on the street.
Pero diferente.
It was busy, so I parked down the end of the road. I walked up to the house. I knocked on the door. No answer. I took my keys out of my bag, unlocked the door. The main lock was unlocked. I could tell because the key wouldn't turn when I tried to turn it to the left.
Okay.
I walked in. Simon's coat wasn't on the peg. I couldn't see his shoes on the shoe rack. I shouted out for him. I walked straight into the kitchen. He usually sits in there to have a cup of tea and read his paper. He wasn't there. I touched the kettle. It was cold. I looked quickly into the living room. Nothing. I walked upstairs to the bedroom. He wasn't there. I didn't search for him because it was pretty clear he wasn't there. Then I had a shower. Whilst I was in the shower, the phone rang. I think it was Eric, his boss. I didn't answer it. Then I came out and I was just exhausted. So I lay down on the bed and I fell asleep, but I didn't mean to. I woke up a couple of hours later and I was surprised to see no one in the bed next to me. And then I remembered where I was and what had happened. That's when Eric called again. I spoke to him. Then I called Simon's parents. And then I decided to come and see you.
Y entonces en el otro yo tenía el pelo corto.
That enough?
Y entonces esto es 1.7. Y esto es 3. Literalmente es 2 veces la misma. Ok, so aquí hay algo raro ya con esto. So vamos a H session. So clip 161 y 152. Entre medio de esos dos, repiten otra vez lo mismo. Aquí hay 2 vasos, aquí hay uno, so que no sabemos si es que este fue primero y este fue segundo, tú sabes, y dejan los vasos ahí, o sea, como aquí. What the fuck, ok. O sea, hay algo aquí raro. Esto está bien raro. This is creepy as hell, porque entonces, o sea, you can see un cambio físico grandemente entre las dos partes. Y ese cambio físicamente grande O sea, en menos de 3 días, 4 días, o sea, tú no te puedes crecer el pelo largo y dejártelo así. Y word by word es lo mismo. Pero entonces, la actitud en el segundo fue diferente a la primera. So, vamos a buscar qué va a Eric. So, aparentemente hay 14 de Eric. So, vamos para donde Eric ahora. Vamos a ver Eric, que está desde cuando ella tenía la blusa azul.
He was wearing a shirt, with a blue turtleneck shirt and jeans. He has a watch. It's a really nice one. That was a gift from his boss, Eric. He had his coat, a long grey duffel coat, like Paddington Bear. He would have taken that with him. It's not in the house. So, it was Friday evening. We had an argument. He left. On Saturday, he didn't come back. I waited all day. He was supposed to go help Eric out with something on the Saturday afternoon. They had a job. He didn't show. So Eric was ringing on the phone. I checked at The Rock, that's our local. They said they'd seen him on the Friday night, but not since. He still wasn't back this morning. It just isn't like him at all.
Okay, so
still not back by dinner time. It's getting dark again. So I decided to come and see you. His parents haven't heard anything either.
Pero entonces, ella ha ido 3 veces, because cuando fue lo de las casas con las llaves dijo lo mismo. Entonces estamos en 121 que eso que es mucho más temprano, que también menciona lo mismo, que ya lo ha desaparecido.
Yes, there's a car that we share, a Cavalier, and a van he uses for work. It's owned by Eric, but we look after it. Both of them are there now, parked in the street. I'm not sure about the keys for the van. I can look for you when I get back.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that would be in his wallet. It's a Visa, a silver one. He doesn't like to spend money he doesn't have, so he usually pays with cash, but Eric convinced him to get one.
Vamos para la Visa ya mismo.
Eric was like an uncle to him. They were pretty close. They spend a lot of time with each other, especially when they have to go to conferences. Have you met his wife, Diane?
Easy. Diane, vamos para allá.
Diane is really nice. She helps out with the glaziers, organises the Christmas party, that sort of thing. They have 2 kids, really sweet kids. She used to look out for me when I worked there.
So, hay algo que ver.
Yeah, that's Simon's watch. It was a gift from Eric. He got it this year.
No.
It was a wedding anniversary gift. Steel. It would have been Diane who chose it. She has really nice taste.
Wait, what?
That time. You must eliminate me. I was in Glasgow then.
Mira, tú mataste a él.
Not really.
O Diane.
He would go to the pub. He had his drinking buddies there, but no one ever really came back to the house. Sometimes Eric, his boss, and his wife would come over for dinner. That would be us returning the favour. Diane is a really good cook, into her trendy ingredients. And the last time Simon cooked something off MasterChef, he got the recipe off CFAX, and I did my Lloyd Grossman bit, commenting from the sidelines.
Okay.
I had to find fennel from the supermarket. Have you ever eaten fennel?
¿Otra vez con la jodida canción?
Simon and Eric arguing? No, I can't imagine they'd be arguing. And they get on so well. Unless it was something to do with work. Maybe Simon was being too much of a perfectionist. But I don't know. You should ask Diane.
Okay, so the watch es importante, because the watch was a gift, but how can it be a gift? So,
I guess you could call it that, but we were both happy to get married.
Okay.
It was a beautiful wedding.
Okay, so
We had our first dance to come back and stay. I'm not sure if that's a good wedding song, but I loved it. I chose it.
I'm glad.
I mean, it was genuinely our first dance. We'd never danced together before. It was probably awful to watch, but I enjoyed it. It felt like it was just me and Simon for that moment. Just the two of us. It happened very quickly. We hardly had to talk to each other. We agreed almost silently. The baby was what mattered. We'd help each other. We cleaned up. We bagged up the broken mirror, her clothes. They're gone.
The broken...
We took him down to the cellar.
What?
We knew we had an alibi, and we wanted the body to be found later. We wanted to have suspicion on us, so we could then disprove it, rather than have it linger. Better to keep the body in the house than risk being seen with it.
Yep.
The watch, that was my touch,
The fuck?
to make sure the alibi stuck.
What the fuck? Gangster, tengo miedo. Alibi. Okay, so that's the only one I see. There. Entonces, there was the way. Ella mencionó 11. I need more. Jesus, I need more entries.
It wasn't the present so much. It was one of those arguments that had been simmering for a while.
Okay.
The present was a mirror, a nice mirror. He'd engraved the glass, the kind of mirror a princess would have in a story.
Pero,
He made it specially for me.
we just had someone say that they had the broken mirror and everything. Entonces esta viene como que this mirror for
The
her.
mirror. I can't remember.
Entonces,
I put it somewhere safe. Upstairs, I think. Haven't looked at it since.
viste, ya,
Silverleaf? No. He normally silvers them properly. This mirror, it's supposed to look antique. The reflection isn't as good. It's the perfect mirror for someone who doesn't like to look at their own reflection.
okay. Broken mirror. Oh, it's broken. Okay. Entonces, alibi, we. Okay, we. 64 entries that we. Okay, pero fuck it. It's better than nothing.
No. I mean, yes, we have arguments, but he never runs off. He always comes back. We make up. It's always that way.
Okay.
A long time. We got married when I was 17.
Oh. Weird.
No, not drugs. I mean, he drinks, but never very much. He goes to the pub and has one or two. Sometimes we go together. He drinks wine with food, but no, he doesn't have any kind of drinking problem.
Motherfucker. Sí, poquito, ¿viste? Se va a quedar.
He saw me singing one of my shows. Pure chance. Not sure I remember what he was even doing there.
Okay.
Afterwards, I had a drink at the bar and he came over and we got talking. I knew who he was. Obviously I knew who he was. But he didn't know who I was. He was fascinated by the likeness. He guessed my name from my tattoo. Told me it was a palindrome. Well, that would impress me.
So yeah.
I enjoyed talking to him. It was amazing to be able to sit and interact and talk to him after all this time. He didn't tell me he was married. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He later told me it was like he was dreaming. A waking dream.
Dale, Memo, gracias por eso. Vamos a ver si podemos conseguir lo que carajo pasó con esta tipa, porque está raro. Me huele que pudo haber
I've been into work.
una de las hermanas desapareció.
I mean, I guess I've just been waiting to hear from you,
Tipo.
hear from my husband. When you suspect someone of murdering their husband.
Suspect of murdering.
She's crying, I guess. She's sad because she thought she saw her husband with another woman. But
Dale, Memo,
it's okay,
cuídate.
because she finds out it wasn't her husband, it was his brother.
The fuck?
And so it's fine.
Brother?
I thought it made me sound suspicious. It's not a normal thing to do, to drive to the other end of the country. I wanted to keep it simple. I knew it was stupid not to tell you everything. Saying I spent the night in Glasgow when my husband went missing, I thought it would, distract you from what was important. It's different now. Now he's...
Now he is.
It was supposed to be a secret.
Okay.
Just because Simon is dead, it doesn't mean I have to give up all his secrets. It doesn't have anything to do with what happened to Simon. No one murdered my husband because he cheated his expenses for a romantic weekend in Oxford.
So, Oxford. Okay, so por aquí con Oxford, porque Oxford...
There was a conference, something to do with double glazing. In Oxford? Are you sure? What would he be doing in Oxford if there was no conference? I remember calling him. He said it was boring and he spent most of the time at the bar.
The bar. Vamos para allá, ok. Viste, cuando estás en esta versión, esta es la que como
So
que...
I moved out.
Esta es la versión inteligente, esta es la versión más
Got a small bed
interesante.
sit.
Porque es como que la que es más...
Got my
la que
tattoo to mark the occasion.
So, yeah, pues,
I was singing in a bar in the evenings. So I had some money, enough money to cover my rent.
so it's weird, porque
And
entonces
I've been doing something similar ever since.
sigues sacando cosas, pero...
I haven't put down any roots.
Ujú.
I don't exist. Nothing else happened that night. We talked, then I said goodbye.
Exacto.
Then next week I was singing the bar again and there he was. And again the next week he offered to buy me a meal. I told them I had already eaten, and so we got chips and ate them on the beach instead. When we said goodbye, he asked me to kiss him. Romantic.
So era como que cheating, pero mismo not cheating at the same time, creo. Porque como si
I
estás
told her
saliendo
it was
con
one of
una
my
de ellas.
boyfriends, someone I had met in the bar. I think she was happy. But I could tell she was thinking, why couldn't it happen to her and Simon? They were the ones with the real life. Why not them?
Esto de her and Simon es muy interesante porque
When beautiful people died, we always felt like it was a sign. You remember Princess Grace? Grace Kelly? She died in a car crash the year before we met Simon. We used a Ouija board to speak to her, and that gave us the power to find him. That's what we thought then. That people who died tragically leave some kind of magic behind.
Oh, Dios mío.
We used to share dreams.
Okay.
We used to wake up and write them down in our diaries immediately and compare them.
The diaries are too important, but we can't find enough from the clips. It
Yes.
doesn't give us access to all of them.
I thought about telling Hannah. I felt guilty after the kiss. But then it began to feel like this was the way it should be.
But
Sharing,
you're not
like we had before.
Hannah, you're Ava or Eve.
He never mentioned her to me.
Okay.
There was the Simon with me and the Simon with her.
There we go.
It was almost like it was a different Simon. But